She is a practitioner, a Buddhist practitioner, and a professional singer. So together, as I said, we're in for a treat.
Well, thank you, where's Bill, for asking me here. And I met Bill in the Whitehall meditation community out in Whitehall, and said to the teacher, Bob, hey, I know these chants. Do you want me to start doing it? And he said, sure. And we've done it a little bit, and there seemed to be a good response in just a lot of people in the West don't know that this is a huge part of the tradition of Buddhism, is the chanting. I don't know exactly why, but I have an idea because, as we all know, the Buddhist teachings were not written down right away, and for about 450 years. And chanting was a way of reciting the sutras accurately. It was a really easy way to memorize it. It was a good way to teach it. And we all know that experience of that same song running through our heads and can't get rid of it. And so I think it was probably really effective. As Teresa said, my hope tonight is that people just keep an open mind and realize that it's not about saying the words perfectly. It's about joining in if you feel comfortable, or you can just listen at first. I'm going to talk a little bit about the history and how to chant, and then we'll just get right into it. So my history in chanting is, even though I'd been exposed to meditation pretty much my whole life through a very crazy 70s mother, I moved to San Francisco in 1999, and I got involved in the Spirit Rock meditation community. And most of my teachers there used chanting in one way or another as part of teaching. And I found it really deepened my practice in a way that I hadn't experienced without it. And I think there's a little hesitation. It's usually a foreign language. It's not really, you hear the word chanting, you may think many different things. You might have a positive connotation to it. You might have a negative connotation to it. People might think it's religious music, and that can be good, good and bad memories too. So I was intent on really learning a lot of these things, and I was lucky enough at Spirit Rock that they would have a lot of people come and do many different traditions, and that's how I learned a lot of these chants. So some people wonder if chanting is the same thing as meditation. And I would say it's a form of meditation. You're doing very similar things. You're breathing, you're watching things come and go, but you are making a sound. So it's a little different, and it's a body experience. In some ways, I think it really helps calm the mind, because it's hard to focus on words and pay attention to the thoughts that are coming and going. And you might find that the thoughts just don't come and go as much because you're trying to keep your place. So the chant that I started with tonight is a metta chant. It's Theravadan. It's in Pali. And it's meant to celebrate the non-sentimental type of loving kindness. And I just was curious if any of you, sort of when you first heard those words, what you felt. If you had a contraction, if you had a warm feeling, because I'm sure most of you at first didn't know what I was chanting about. So I think that's just a good thing to notice. I think as we all chant together, it's good to notice that too, but probably the time to investigate it is later. That it really helps if you can just kind of let go a little of any contractions that you may feel. And any questions in your head, like, what am I signing up for? Am I deifying anybody? Am I a Buddhist? Am I not a Buddhist? It doesn't really mean any of that. It's it's connecting you with a really, really long line of the same words that were said 2,600 years ago. And I think that is a beautiful thing to experience. You saying these words are as important as every person that has said these words for the past 2,600 years. And your practice is as important as that, I think. There are those that think that chants do have mystical qualities, that somehow it can expose you to profound teachings that you may not be aware of. I guess that's a personal experience. Sometimes chanting is used as an expression of gratitude. You're just in a thankful state. It's a devotional practice, and I find that I usually do it a little bit before every time I meditate. And sometimes if I feel like I'm really busy, I'll just do the chanting. And a lot of times it'll then want me to go on to meditating. So I also find that if I'm in a very emotional state, like a time of, family drama or something really, really big that happens to you, I have chanted the Heart Sutra for long periods of time. And we'll learn that. I find it really useful. So I've done that myself. So I want to encourage everyone to remember that chanting is not singing. Even though it sounds like it, it's not singing. So many people have such anxiety about singing sometimes. And I think that every person here, you're born with a physiology and a biology you can't change, and that's your voice. And let it be what it's going to be. And together it's going to make something even different, more different and special. So I would just encourage you all to just don't worry about how it sounds. Don't worry about if you have a good voice or bad voice, but just to try it. So, as I said, what are we chanting? We're chanting sutras. We're chanting ideas. Sometimes we're chanting a mantra that's just like a really good quality to celebrate that. It depends on the tradition. Most of these chants are sort of like the gist of the sutra, like the end summarization of the sutra. And why is it in Pali or Sanskrit? Well, Sanskrit, because Buddha was a prince at first, that was his language, and that was the language of the aristocrats and the religious texts. But since Buddha's followers weren't exactly that at first, he did not want to teach, supposedly, did not want to teach in Sanskrit. He wanted to teach in Magadhi, which was like the local dialect. So Sanskrit is older than Pali. Pali is considered the simpler form, but same vocabulary, similar grammar. So as far as I can research and tell, it's just as similar as we know it can be to what these old chants were. So the way to chant is really simple. You sit up and you take a deep breath, and then you open your mouth and you do the chant. So to warm up, I thought first we would, and the important thing too is after breathing, you kind of set your intention. Like, what is my intention? Do I want to honor someone? Do I want to just calm down? All of those things are good. So the first thing I would love everybody to do is take a deep breath, and on the exhale, just say a very natural ah. So we're inhale. Ah. Let's do it again. Ah. And similar to singing, you would want to really try to focus on your belly and trying to get that sound, not loud, but resonant. So there's a lot of the letter M in chants like Om or at the end of things. That we want to celebrate that because they've shown that actually has really good physiological benefits of calming the vagus nerve and calming everything down. So the first chant we're going to do is a chant that you actually all know. And you've known since you were born because it's your name. And people have been chanting your name since you were born. And I would love everybody to take a deep breath, and on the out breath, you're just going to say your name. Ready? In and Laura. Let's do it again. Laura. It's a really neat sound. So we're first going to try to do some ohms. So Om is Sanskrit. It's actually 3 syllables, A-U-M, with a focus on the M. And it means absolute reality without beginning or end, embracing all that it exists. So some of you may do it in yoga class. Some of you may heard it from many different places, but it's a good one to start. So we're going to do Om 5 times. And each time you do it, just notice if it's different. Notice if you get louder or softer. And then we'll try to hang out on the M part a little bit. So a deep breath. So that's a classic. You can do anywhere, anytime. Two very common chants are the Heart Sutra and the Diamond Sutra. The Heart Sutra is a pretty long sutra to chant the whole thing, so usually people just chant the end of it. And I don't know if you guys have talked about it or read it, but it deals with a lot of the main points of Buddhism. It deals with Avalokiteshvara, who's the bodhisattva of compassion, and he talks about the aggregates. He talks about form is emptiness, emptiness is form, dependent origination. There's a lot in there. But at the end, it can be summed up by the phrase, Om Gate Gate, Pada Gate, Pada Samgate, Bodhi Swaha. And I learned this particular version from Anam Tubtam Rinpoche, who's a Sri Lankan monk based in Richmond, California. And he teaches with Tara sometimes. And so he does this one a lot. And, these aren't exactly melodies for something like this, but they are pitches, and it's not super important that you do it all the same way. It really is an inner experience. So for this one, once we start, let's go on for a little bit and just see how that frees your mind. If it frees your mind, if your mind wanders, if you get lost, it's okay, just jump right back in. But it's worth doing because the meaning is so profound. And I had just put, a little of the different things that I've read, but the concept that really appeals to me is that you have gotten to the other shore without ever having left. So you're in it, you're here, you're it's the heart. You've already gotten there. It's like, congratulations, good job. It's enlightenment. So when you say these words, that's what you're saying. But because you're not having to worry about the English, there might be a different quality that you could experience doing it. So we'll maybe try to hang in there for a minute or two, or we'll see. And when we're ready to end, I'll just hit the gong, or if you feel like stopping and starting, it's totally fine. So I'll do it once, and then you guys can join in. Om Gate Para Gate Para Sam Gate Bodhisvaha. Om Does anybody have anything they want to share about so far, what we've done? We'll probably just do one or two more. Any questions or comments, observations? Oh, good. Does anyone notice that they're focusing on trying to get the chant, and then so they don't have these thoughts going? I mean, it can feel like a big relief, I think, sometimes to really, you're devoting yourself to that moment. And it's a really I think it can be a really healing thing. So maybe we'll do one more. So we did. There are some chants in English, and I can tell you it's a different experience. There's the monastery in Mendocino, the forest monastery up there. They, at least when I was there, they do all their chants in English, and it's a different thing. And I think it's a personal preference. I think there's reasons for doing it that way and reasons for doing it the traditional way. So I was going to do one of those, but I don't think we're going to have time to do it, so maybe next time. But it's a Zen chant, and it involves clacking, and there's no melody. Huh? Oh, sure. So we can just. So the thing with Zen chanting is it's a very ordered thing. The priest would come in, he would bow 3 times, he would invite the gong, and then each syllable is a clack. And so you start really slow, and then you speed up. So we can try it, like for a minute. And it's going to be unlike anything else you heard today, so just, join in. So you should view this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a phantom and a dream. So you should view this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a phantom and a dream. So you should view this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a phantom and a dream. So you should view this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a phantom and a dream. So you should view this fleeting world, a star at dawn, a bubble in a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud, a phantom and a dream. So I'm sure that's a good one for getting the energy up. And that's the Diamond Sutra. So finally, I think Om Mani Padme Hum, there's many different versions of that, but I thought it would be lovely to end by chanting the 3 refuges, which is something lovely to dedicate your practice with. And it begins with an introduction, and you're honoring, saying, yes, I'm honoring the enlightened one, I'm honoring the 3 refuges. And then it's really simple. You'll be able to join in. So the first line is done 3 times. I'll do the first one, and you guys join in with the second, and then we'll just go right into the 3 refuges. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammam sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammam Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa Bhagavato Arahato Sammam Sambuddhassa Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Sangham Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Dhammam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Sangham Saranam Gacchami. Thank you very much for sharing the chanting with me. And there will be a recording of that metta chant, I guess, linked on the website.